Hey guys, welcome to the third and hopefully final tutorial video for the stat types that we've been setting up in the last couple videos. So, where we left off, we have our stat types. We have this nice little window that displays all our stat types in one area with the name, a short name, a description, and the sprite that we want for that given stat type. It all saves and all is good, and we can add and remove whatever we want from this little window. So in this one, we're going to do a little bit of cleanup, and also we're going to look at generating this file, which is probably the most fun. So let's go in and finish up our two other editor scripts, and then we'll jump into editing or generating that file. So we'll save the best for last. So we're going to create two new ones, RPG stat type dialog and create C# RPG stat type inspector. So this inspector, it's going to be, well, close all documents. Let me try that again. There we go. So this inspector will be overriding the inspector for this asset file here. So we won't see all of this because I want people to open this window so they don't have to actually find this asset. And I don't want them to tamper with this asset because they might change values. Like they could change the ID within here, and I don't want them to touch these IDs. That's some data in there that I just don't want people to modify. So we'll be setting up a custom inspector. So let's clean up this script in order to get it to work how we want it to. So first off, we'll be using the Unity editor namespace. We'll also be using the RPG system, stat system namespace. And in here, we're going to be doing namespace RPG systems .stat system .editor, because this is going to be an editor script for the stat system. And then we can remove the start and updates and mono behavior. Since this is going to be an inspector script or an editor script, it's going to be editor. We'll just inherit from editor. Oops. Yeah, I'm going to have a naming conflict there, so I'm going to actually have to hard type this Unity editor editor. So since this is an editor, there's an overridable method in here called onInspectorGUI. So if we do this, nothing will happen because A, we're not actually connecting to a script yet. So let's connect it. So to connect this editor script to another script to be its inspector, we need to use a custom attribute called, well, custom editor. And here we'll just do type of the class that we want this to be the editor for. So RPG stat type database. There we go. So if we jump back into Unity and we click here, it looks exactly the same because we're calling the base on GUI. But if we remove this and jump back in, nothing shows. You could leave it there if you want. That restricts people from using our data. But I'm going to extend this just a little bit, make it more informational. So I'll do a GUI layout label and say database that stores all RPG stat types. Just so people know what it is. Below I'll do a button. Open editor window. Oops. So this will show just an editor button. Let them open up the window. So we can just go to RPG stat type window dot show window, our static function, and that'll simply show it. So we jump back into Unity, click on this asset file, and there's our button. Database that stores all RPG stat types, and we have our window. It shows. We'll close this. It opens. Okay, that's all we do. And that hides all the data from users, so they can't easily edit anything that they shouldn't. So these IDs are all safe. Next, let's go into our dialog. This will be an easy little thing. And there's going to be some. Let's set this up also. We're going to be using Unity Editor. I'll set up the namespace. And this will be of type editor window. And I'm going to set up some variables. I'm going to say const string window title equals stat types. I'm going to create a delegate, public delegate, void select event, and this is going to be of type RPG, or this delegate will have the parameter RPG stat type asset. And this is the asset that's selected. And then this dialog will have a public select event on asset select. Cool. And also, just because future, we're going to have a private vector 2, and this will be the scroll. That'll be for our scroll zone, which we'll have. Okay, so this editor will have a static public void. This will be used to show the dialog. I'm just going to call it display, or you could do show. Select event, and this is going to be delegate. So the way I'm going to have this is whoever wants to use this dialog will have to call the display function. And this will take some delegate or some method from whoever's calling. And once someone selects something on this dialog, we'll just pass the asset selected back through this delegate to whoever called. That way they don't have to wait around, and as soon as they get called back, they'll know what to use with this. So in here we'll go var win get window stat type dialog, and we'll go in here. We're going to actually use some custom. We're going to use utility. That means it doesn't dock. We're going to do title, so window title, and then we're going to do we focus it? We're going to focus this window. So we're going to go win.min size. Well, actually, we're not even going to set min size for now. Win.on asset select. This is the delegate, so we're just going to assign it to the delegate because there's only one delegate at a time. Win.show, and we're just going to show the window. So we don't need the on enable for this one since we're not enabling anything, so we'll just go GUI. And in here we're going to do our scroll rect, our scroll zone first. GUI layout.scroll view. And we'll do our end. And here we're going to loop through all the stat types. And in here we're going to get the asset at this index. And double check if it's null, just to be safe. And then do an if GUI button. And instead of actually doing press me or something, I'm going to do asset.name, and I'm going to do my editor style of toolbar button because it looks nice. And then we're going to double check if our delegate does not equal null, so we have someone listening to it. If we don't do this check and we call it and no one's listening, we'll get an error. So it's a safe check. And then we'll just pass our asset. And then once we call that delegate, we'll just do this dot close, and we'll close the window. Oh, and the scroll up here needs our scroll value to be passed in. There you go. That's our little dialog box. Now to actually make this show up, let's jump in. Yeah, let's just jump into our custom inspector. Yeah, this will just be some test code. It's not going to be anything major. We'll remove it after we test. But so this is, let's toss it into a GUI layout dot button. Let's do that. And I'm going to do a clicks private string output. And down here, editor GUI layout dot outbox. Yeah, this is just kind of, this might be more than I need to do, but whatever. It's kind of cool. So that's a help box if you want to see one. You'll see what it looks like in a second. But this is how we're going to use my little dialog system I set up here. So we'll go RPG stat type dialog, oops, dot display. Now we have this delegate here. So we could go down here and create another method, but I'm going to be using, oh, I forget what they're called, a little lambda expression, I believe. So we're going to do asset, because this is what it's going to return, equals arrow, and then curly brackets, and then close parenthesis and a semicolon. So this is just going to be a kind of function setup. So we'll get an asset of type, stat type asset, and whatever's in this curly bracket will activate just like a normal function. So in here, I'm just going to say output equals asset dot name. Easy as that. Other areas you might do something else, and in later videos we'll show how I've used this. Well, we'll jump back into Unity real quick. Click on our stat type, and we see our stat type dialog. Click this, pops up. We have this little box that's listing everything in it. If we had more, you would see scroll zone. Actually, let's add a couple of other things. And oh, see, they automatically add to this, and there's a scroll zone. So we'll click Wisdom, and oh, let's load that up. And there's the Wisdom pops there. Pop this up again, Health, and Intellect, and so on. There you go. That's how you use the little dialog that we set up. Pretty simple. I'll remove this test code out of here because we don't need it anymore. And I'll just delete some of these. There we go. Save scene or project. Okay, so we have our custom inspector, stat types window, and our stat types dialog. Now let's go into the part of this that probably would be the most fun to deal with. Let's do the quick generation. Now, to be honest, this is one of my first times ever actually doing something similar to this. So this may not be the best way to do it, but hey, it works. So in here, I'm going to, in the editor, I'm going to go RPG stat type generator. Open this up. Do my normal. I'm going to be using Unity editor. I believe using system IO, using system.text, and using RPG.stat system. And set this into the RPG stat system, or RPG systems dot stat system dot editor. And let's see, this does not need to be a mono behavior. And I believe this can just be static. We don't need anything else because our UI scripts are actually going to be calling this. So we'll go const string default generation path. And this is going to be assets dash RPG systems slash stat system database. This is, let's see, no, I don't want that. I don't think I'm actually using that. Const string default file name. Let's just go with this for now. RPG stat type .cs. We'll go static public void. This is going to be check and generate file. So in here we're going to check if the file exists. If it does, then we start writing the file. If not, then we're going to create it. So string asset path, and to get the asset path we're going to do another method. Do path for file name, and we're going to be looking for our file, our default file. So if string.is null or empty, asset path, we're going to string gen asset path, and we're going to get the asset path for file, and we're going to actually get this asset path for the generator. And the new asset path will equal gen asset path dot replace, because I don't actually want that generator. So this file is in the editor folder, and well, let's jump over here. It's here in this editor, and this is where the stat type is. So I want to generate it one above. So we'll come back here. Oops, you did that. But in this replace, I'm going to replace this full path, because I know what it's going to be. It's going to be editor slash RPG stat type generator.cs. So I'm going to replace that, and it'll just give me a folder for the asset path. And we're going to replace that with default file name. That way, that's where we want the stat types to be placed. So I'm going to come down here and let's create the get asset path. So the way we're doing this is we're literally looking through all the asset paths and finding the one with this string in it. Since all our scripts are going to have different names, or that's what I'm hoping, that's how I'm going to find it. So string asset paths equal asset database dot get all asset paths. And then we're just going to for each loop through all the asset paths. Oh, for path in asset paths. Forgetting how to use for loops. Oops. Set paths dot path dot contains name. Checking if the path string contains the name string. If it does, we'll just return the path. Else we'll return string.empty. That's how we can check if the file is not there. So now we have this. We're going to actually have write. We're going to create a new method called write stat type to, or stat types to file. And we'll just do asset path. Down here, we'll create another static void. And I'll take a string for the file path. So this will be where we're actually writing everything to this file. So we'll be using the stream writer to create the file or to open it using statements. So the string writer is only available in this using names part. Yeah, using area. Yeah. One of those days when you just have a brain fart. File path. There we go. Oh, I want to change this to file path. There we go. And file.write line. And in here, I'm gonna do the summary first. I'm actually just gonna copy and paste this because this would be a lot of typing otherwise. We'll just do, this is just for a quick warning at the top so people don't go and edit the file just for it to change later. But okay, let's go through the rest. I'm gonna copy this right line. And in here, I'm going to go namespace RPG systems dot stat system with the colon or semicolon, and then I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to add a tab just to indent it a bit. Public enum RPG stat type with another semicolon, or not a curly bracket. And then here's the simple part. We're just going to do a for loop. Type database. So in here, we're going to write each line for every stat type. So let's get the stat type at this index. And then we're going to write the line. So we're going to format this just a bit. So string.format, just to make it look nice. We're going to do 2 tabs. And then we're going to go, this is going to be the stat type name. And then we're going to do equal, and then the value. And with the comma. You got to make sure this is all correct, or else it might come out wrong. Stat type dot name. And I'm going to be replace. You could have more checks here just for invalid names, but this is going to be simple because I'm going to assume most people who use this will hopefully be decent. So I'm going to replace any spaces with string dot empty. And then I'm also going to do stat type dot ID for the second value. Now, one other thing I should do, I'm going to go here and go if stat type dot name, do string dot is empty or null. I'm going to use not there. So if it's not empty or null, we're going to write it. So if it's just an empty one, I'm going to ignore it because it's pointless. So take our right line, come after the for loop, because after we write everything, come down here, right line /t, then we'll do a curly bracket, and then we'll do a new line, so it's on the next line, and then do another curly bracket, and then end that. And that is the end of our file. And to make this all refresh correctly in the editor, once we do it, we'll go assets, asset database dot refresh. And there. This should write this summary, this warning, on top of the namespace, enum name, all the enums inside the list or in our database, and then close it out with the correct quotations and refresh the editor. Let's jump back into Unity. No errors. Cool. And now we need to go add it to our window. So our RPG stat type window. Down here where we have this add type, I'm going to do a GUI layout dot begin horizontal because I want it on a new area, or I want these two buttons next to each other. And I'm going to do if GUI layout dot button and do generate enum, and I'll do my style. And in here we'll go RPG stat type generator dot check and generate file. There we go. Jump back into Unity, and I'll do a couple little tests. I'll delete this. And I'm going to get a lot of errors. If Unity doesn't just freeze on me. Let's see, is it just this? Yeah, I think it was just that. There we go. And then we'll go up to our window. Oh, it errored out because the stat system does not like it that I just deleted that. Well, we'll be fixing that in a later video. So for now, we'll just go RPG stat type. There. And it'll want us to go enum. Okay, I'm just going to delete this default stats. You can too if you want. In the next couple episodes, we're going to be reworking this stat collection. If it wasn't a surprise. Hope it wasn't. But anyway, there. That should work. Now we have our stat types. We can click on this. So we have the empty enum over there. We'll generate. And there we go. The file generates and it's all good. No errors, no whammies. We can add a new one. Go mana. Generate file. And mana comes right over there with the new value. If we wanted, we can also go into our script. Let's see, this one. Reload. Down here. I'm going to add one more line. Copy this. Add a T. And this will be our none. There we go. Because if most enums you kind of want to just say none value set to 0. Since our first ID is always 1, this will work. See, none. There you go. So we got our generator, our inspector for our database, and our custom dialog that pops up, and also our generate enum files editors all correctly implemented and working. And our stat type editor over here still works pretty well. And yeah, there you go. Our stat types is working from our database that we created, and all the editors are functioning correctly. And the stat type file is now just generated based off of this. Cool. In future videos, or the next one hopefully, we'll be coming back, maybe do a couple updates to a couple of these scripts, or come in and being reworking our stat collection. Because right now we were using that default stats class and inheriting from our collection to make a new collection, which is kind of annoying and a lot of scripting. So to make this easier, how about we just make a new custom editor that we can fully set up and rig our stat collections in. And yeah, then we make them in there. It's all in the editor Unity, and we don't have to touch a single line of code after we finish the editor. Other two, well, add more extensions and make it work even cooler. But anyway, hope this was helpful for you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.